Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Ajay Solkhe, presently working as Assistant Professor, University School of Management, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Haryana. This module is all about the legal provisions contained in the Apprentices Act 1961. Upon completion of this module, a student should be able to understand the importance and utility of apprentices for employers, rights and duties of apprentices as per the statute, obligations of employer toward apprentices, rules regarding payments to apprentices, authorities under this act, and the various penalties and offences in case of violations of this act. The very first question which comes to our mind is who exactly apprentice is? What is an apprenticeship? An apprentice is a person, usually a minor, bound in due form of law to a master to learn from him his art, trade, or business and to serve him during the time of his apprenticeship. Black's Law Dictionary says that apprenticeship is a contract by which one person, usually a minor, called the apprentice, is bound to another person called the master to serve him during a prescribed term of years in his art, trade, or business in consideration of being instructed by the master in such art or trade and commonly of receiving his support and maintenance from the master during such terms. Regarding the objects of the Act envisages to promote new manpower skills through theoretical and practical training in number of trades and occupations, to put a statutory obligation on the part of every employer covered under the Act to train a prescribed number of persons, to regulate and control the training of apprentices in trade and to supplement the availability of the technical persons for the industry. Section 3 stipulates the qualifications for being engaged as an apprentice. A person shall not be qualified for being engaged as an apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in any designated trade unless he is not less than 14 years of age and he satisfies such standards of education and physical fitness as may be prescribed, provided that different standards may be prescribed in relation to apprenticeship training in different designated trades or for different categories of apprentices. Section 4 stipulates the essential ingredients of the contract of apprenticeship. The very first is that no person shall be engaged as an apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in a designated trade unless such person or if he is a minor, his guardian has entered into a contract of apprenticeship with the employer. This apprenticeship training shall be deemed to have commenced on the date on which the contract of apprenticeship has been entered into as per the clause 1. Every contract of apprenticeship may contain such terms and conditions and as may be agreed to by the parties to the contract, provide that no such term or condition shall be inconsistent with any provision of Apprentices Act or any rule made thereunder. Every contract of apprenticeship as entered into shall be sent by the employer within such period as may be prescribed to apprenticeship advisor for registration. The apprenticeship advisor shall not register a contract of apprenticeship unless he is satisfied that the person described as an apprentice in the contract is qualified under this act for being engaged as apprentice to undergo apprenticeship training in the designated trade specified in the contract. Where the central government, after contracting the Central Apprenticeship Council, makes any rule wherein the condition of apprenticeship training of any category of apprentices undergoing such training, then the terms and conditions of every contract of apprenticeship relating to that category of apprentices and immediately before the making of such rule shall be deemed to have been modified accordingly. Under section 5, regarding the novation of contract of apprenticeship, it has been stipulated that where an employer with whom a contract of apprenticeship has been entered into is for any reason unable to fulfill his obligation under the contract, and with the approval of the apprenticeship advisor, it is agreed between the employer, the apprentice or his guardian, and any other employer that the apprentice shall be engaged as an apprentice under the other employer for the unexpired portion of the period of apprenticeship training. The agreement on registration with the apprenticeship advisor shall be deemed to be the contract of apprenticeship between the apprentice or his guardian and other employer, and on from the date of such registration the contract of apprenticeship with the first employer shall terminate and no obligation under that contract shall be enforceable at the instance of any party to the contract against the other party thereto. When parties to a contract agrees to substitute the existing contract with a new contract, this phenomena is called as a novation. Section 62 of the Indian Contract Act provides the effect of novation as if the parties to a contract agree to substitute a new contract for it or to rescind or alter it, the original contract need not be performed. Section 6 stipulates the period of apprenticeship training. The period of apprenticeship training which shall be specified in the contract of apprenticeship is in the case of trade apprentices who, having undergone institutional training in a school or other institution recognized by the National Council, have passed the trade tests conducted by the Council, the period of apprenticeship training shall be as such may be determined by the Council or by an institution recognized by that Council. In the case of a trade apprentices who, having undergone institutional training in or other institution affiliated to or recognized by a board or state council of technical education or any other authority which the central government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf, have passed the trade tests conducted by that board or state council or authority, the period of apprenticeship training shall be such as may be prescribed. In the case of other trade apprentices, the period of apprenticeship training shall be such as may be prescribed. In the case of graduate or technician apprenticeship, the period of apprenticeship training shall be such as may be prescribed. Regarding the termination of apprenticeship contract stipulated under Section 7, the contract of apprenticeship shall terminate on the expiry of the period of apprenticeship training. Either party to a contract of apprenticeship may make an application to the apprenticeship advisor for the termination of the contract, and when such application is made, shall send by post a copy thereof to the other party to the contract. After considering the contents of the application and the objections, if any, filed by the other party, the apprenticeship advisor may by order in writing terminate the contract if he is satisfied that the party to the contract or any of them have or has failed to carry out the terms and conditions of the contract, and it is desirable in the interest of the parties or any of them to terminate the same. Where the contract of apprenticeship is terminated through failure on the part of any employer in carrying out the terms and conditions thereof, such employer shall be liable to pay the apprentice compensation of an amount equivalent to his 3 months' last drawn stipend, and when the said termination is due to failure on the part of the apprentice in the above manner, then a training cost of an amount equivalent to his 3 months' last drawn stipend shall be made recoverable from such apprentice or from his guardian in case he is minor. Practical and basic training of apprentices. Under Section 9, there are certain guidelines regarding the basic training of the apprentices. Very first is, every employer shall make suitable arrangement in his workshop for imparting a course of practical training to every apprentice engaged by him in accordance with the program approved by the apprenticeship advisor. Secondly, the central apprenticeship advisor or any other person not below the rank of an assistant apprenticeship advisor authorized by the central apprenticeship advisor in writing in this behalf shall be given all reasonable facilities for access to each such apprentice with a view to test his work and to ensure that the practical training is being imparted in accordance with the approved program. Thirdly, such of the trade apprentices as have not undergone institutional training in school or other institution recognized by the National Council or any other institution affiliated to or recognized by the Board or State Council of Technical Education or any other authority which the central government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf shall before admission in the workshop for practical training undergo a course of basic training. Point 4. Where an employer employs in his establishment 500 or more workers, the basic training shall be imparted to the trade apprentices either in separate parts of the workshop building or in a separate building which shall be set up by the employer himself. By the appropriate government may grant loans to the employer on easy terms and repayable by easy installments to meet the cost of the land, construction and equipment for such separate building. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 4, if the number of apprentices to be trained at any time in any establishment in which 500 or more workers are employed is less than 12, the employer in relation to such establishment may depute all or any of such apprentices to any basic training center or industrial training institute for basic training in any designated trade, in either case run by the government. Where an employer deputes any apprentices under subsection 4A, such employer shall pay to the government the expenses incurred by the government on such training at such rates may be specified by the central government. Where an employer employs in his establishment less than 500 workers, the basic training shall be imparted to the trade apprentices and training institutes set up by the government. Sixth, in any such training institute which shall be located within the premises of the most suitable establishment in the locality or at any other convenient place, the trade apprentices engaged by 2 or more employers may be imparted basic training. Seventh, in the case of an apprentice other than a graduate or a technician apprentice, the syllabus of and the equipment to be utilized for practical training, including basic training, shall be such as may be approved by the central government in consultation with the central apprenticeship advisor. 7A, in the case of a graduate or technician apprentices, technician, vocational apprentices, the program of apprenticeship training and the facilities required for such training in any subject field in engineering or technology or vocational course shall be such as may be approved by the central government in consultation with the Central Apprenticeship Council. 8th, it is stipulated that recurring cost incurred by the employer in connection with basic training imparted to trade apprentice other than those referred to in clause A and AA of section 6 shall be borne if such employer employs 250 workers or more by the employer, if such employer employs less than 250 workers by the employer, and the government in equal shares up to such limit as may be laid down by the central government and beyond that limit by the employer alone. Secondly, recurring cost, if any, incurred by an employer in connection with practical training, including basic training imparted to trade apprentice referred to in clauses A and clause AA of section 6 shall in every case be borne by the employer. Thirdly, recurring cost excluding the cost of stipends incurred by the employer in connection with the practical training imparted to graduate or technician apprentice, technician vocational apprentices shall be borne by the employer, and the cost of stipend shall be borne by the central government and the employer in equal shares up to such limit as may be laid down by the central government and beyond that limit by the employer alone. Related instructions of apprentices. Under section 10, it has been clearly stipulated that a trade apprentice who is undergoing practical training in an establishment shall during the period of practical training be given a course of related instruction which shall be appropriate to the trade, approved by the central government in consultation with the Central Apprenticeship Council with a view to give the trade apprentice such theoretical knowledge as he needs in order to become fully qualified as a skilled craftsman. Related instruction shall be imparted at the cost of appropriate government, but the employer shall, when so required, afford all facilities for imparting such instructions. Any time spent by a trade apprentice in attending classes on related instruction shall be treated as part of his paid periods of work. In the case of trade apprentices who, after having undergone a course of institutional training, have passed the trade test conducted by the National Council or have passed the trade test and examinations conducted by a board or state council of technical education or any other such authority which the central government may by notification in the official gazette specify in this behalf, the related instruction may be given on such reduced or modified scale as may be prescribed. Where any person has during his course in a technical institution become a graduate or technician apprentice, technician vocational apprentice, and during his apprenticeship training he has to receive related instruction, then the employer shall release such person from practical training to receive the related instruction in such institution for such period as may be specified by the Central Apprenticeship Advisor or by any other person not below the rank of an Assistant Apprenticeship Advisor, authorized by Central Apprenticeship Advisor in writing in this behalf. Section 11 delineates the obligation of employers towards apprentices. Without prejudice to the other provisions of the Act, every employer shall have the following obligation in relation to an apprentice, namely, very first of all, to provide the apprentice with a training in his trade, in accordance with the provisions of the Act, and the rules made thereunder. If the employer is not himself qualified in the trade, to ensure that a person who possesses the prescribed qualification is placed in charge of the training of the apprentice. Lastly, and to carry out his obligation under the contract of apprenticeship. Obligations of the apprentices. Section 12 specifies some of the obligations of the apprentices also, similarly on the lines of the obligations disposed of by the employers. Every trade apprentice undergoing apprenticeship training shall have the following obligations, namely, to learn his trade consciously and diligently and endeavor to qualify himself as a skilled craftsman before the expiry of the period of training, to attend practical and instructional classes regularly, to carry out all lawful orders of his employer and superior in the establishment, to carry out his obligations under the contract of apprenticeship. Every graduate or technician undergoing apprenticeship training shall have the following obligations, namely, to learn his subject field in engineering or technology consciously and diligently at his place of training, to attend the practical and instructional classes regularly, to carry out all lawful orders of his employer and superiors in the establishment, and to carry out his obligation under the contract of apprenticeship, which shall include the maintenance of such records of his work as may be prescribed. Stipend to the apprentices. The employer shall pay to the apprentice during the period of apprenticeship training such stipend at a rate less than the prescribed minimum rate. The revised minimum prescribed rate of stipend under the Apprentices Amendment Act 1973, 1986 and 2014. To a graduate apprentices, as per the revised rate, 4,984 rupees per month needs to be paid as per the recent amendments. To the sandwich course students from degree institutions, 3,542 per month has to be paid. To the technician apprentices, 3,542 per month has to be paid. And to the sandwich course students from diploma institutions, 2,890 rupees per month has to be paid. To the technician vocational apprentices, 2,758 rupees per month has to be paid on the revised rates. Hours of work overtime under section 15. The daily hours of work of an apprentice shall not be more than 8 hours per day and weekly hours not less than 40 hours but not more than 45 hours. A short-term apprentice may however be engaged to work up to a maximum limit of 48 hours per week. The hours of training of the apprentice should not be between 10 pm and 6 am except with the prior approval of the apprenticeship advisor. An apprentice is entitled to leave in accordance with the leave rules which exist for the workers of that establishment, provided every apprentice must put in a minimum attendance of 264 days in a year of training, 1/6 of which should be devoted to related instruction at 220 days to practical training. Section 15 specifies the provisions relating to leave of the apprentices. An apprentice is entitled to the following leave: casual leave, medical leave and extraordinary leave. With regard to casual leave, it shall be admissible for a maximum period of 12 days in a year. Any holidays intervening during the period of casual leave shall not be counted for purposes of the limit of 12 days. Casual leave not utilized during any year shall stand lapsed at the end of the year. Casual leave shall not be combined with medical leave. If casual leave is preceded or followed by medical leave, the entire leave taken shall be treated either as medical or casual leave, provided that it shall not be allowed to exceed the maximum period prescribed in respect of medical or casual, as the case may be. Except in case of extreme urgency, applications for such leave shall be made to the appropriate authority and sanction obtained prior to the availing of leave. Concerning extraordinary leave up to a maximum of 10 days in a year may be granted to the apprentice after he has exhausted the entire casual and medical leave, if the employer is satisfied with grounds on which the leave is applied for. With respect to the medical leave up to 15 days for each year of training may be granted to the apprentice who is unable to attend duty owing to illness. The unused leave shall also be allowed to accumulate up to a maximum of 40 days. Any holidays intervening during the period of medical leave shall be treated as medical leave and accounted for in the limits prescribed under clause 1. Thirdly, the employer may call upon the apprentice to produce a medical certificate from a registered medical practitioner in support of his medical leave. A medical certificate shall, however, be necessary if the leave exceeds 6 days. It shall be open to the employer to arrange a special medical examination of an apprentice if he has reason to believe that the apprentice is not really ill or the illness is not of such a nature so as to prevent the attendance. Under section 16, employer's liability for compensation for injury. If personal injury is caused to any apprentice by accident arising out of in the course of his training as an apprentice, his employer shall be liable to pay compensation, which shall be determined and paid so far as may be in accordance with the provisions of the Workmen Compensation Act 1923, subject to the modifications specified in the schedule. Section 23 clearly spells out the various authorities under this Act. In addition to the government, there shall be the following authorities under this Act. Naming a few: the National Council, the Central Apprenticeship Council, the State Council, the State Apprenticeship Council, the All India Council, regional boards, boards or State Council of Technical Education, the Central Apprenticeship Advisor, and the State Apprenticeship Advisor. Every state council shall be affiliated to the National Council, and every state apprenticeship council shall be affiliated to the Central Apprenticeship Council. 2A. Every board or state council of technical and every regional board shall be affiliated to the Central Apprenticeship Council. Each of the authorities specified in subsection 1 that in relation to apprenticeship training under this Act perform such functions as are assigned to it by or under this Act or by the government. With regard to offences and penalties, section 30 stipulates certain rules. The Apprentices Act provides that if any employer engages as an apprentice a person who is not qualified for being so engaged, if he fails to carry out the terms and conditions of a contract of apprenticeship, or if he contravenes the provision of the Act relating to the number of apprenticeship which is required to engage under those provisions, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months or with fine, with both. If any employer or any other person required to furnish any information or return refuses or neglects to furnish such information or return, or furnishes or causes to be furnished any information or return which is false and which he either knows or believes to be false or does not believe to be true, or refuses to answer or gives a false answer to any question necessary for obtaining information required to be furnished by him, or he refuses or willfully neglects to afford the Central or the State Apprenticeship Council advisor or such other person not below the rank of an assistant apprenticeship advisor as may be authorized by the Central or the State Apprenticeship Advisor in writing in this behalf any reasonable facility for making any entry, inspection, examination or inquiry authorized by or under this Act, requires an apprentice to work overtime without the approval of the apprenticeship advisor, employs an apprentice on any work which is not connected with his training, make payment to an apprentice on the basis of his piecework, requires an apprentice to take part in any output, bonus or collective bargaining, he shall be punishable with imprisonment for all the causes stated above for a term which may extend to 6 months or with fine or with both. Apprenticeship and bonus. By the very definition of employee, the apprentices are not eligible for bonus as per section 2, subsection 13 of the Payment of Bonus Act 1965. With respect to apprenticeship and EPF, as apprentice is not an employee as defined by the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act, therefore, the amended provisions of Provident Fund Miscellaneous Provisions Act, wide amendment to Act number 33 of 1988, defining employees, provide that it will include any person engaged as an apprentice not being an apprentice engaged under Apprentices Act 1961 or under the standing orders of the establishment. Apprentices and ESI. The amending Act number 29 of Employee State Insurance Act 1989, while defining an employee under the ESI Act, has provided that it does not include any person engaged as an apprentice under the Apprentices Act 1961 or under the standing orders of the establishment. Friends, I hope you have understood the contents well. You can also refer to other quadrants of this module for testing your knowledge and having some more input on theme of the module. Happy learning!